Hello everybody, my name is Anton Roxas and we are here today for LS Talks at De La Salle University, Manila, Philippines. Now, LS Talks is a project of the International Association of La Salle Universities, or IALU, to share the best practices of the different Lasallian universities from all over the world. Now, this is an opportune time for all of us Lasallians to share with one another our university's pride. Of course, I'm talking about our outstanding professors, our notable projects, and other endeavors that really help the community. Now, this is all in commemoration of the death tercentenary of our founder, St. John Baptist de La Salle. De La Salle University positions itself as a research institution. In fact, it is the only Philippine private institution that is ranked in the Times Higher Education rankings and is the most productive research institution in the country for the past 4 years. And today, we have with us Dr. Raymond Tan, who is the De La Salle University Vice Chancellor for Research and Innovation. Of course, he is a university fellow and is one of the Philippines' leading researchers. Dr. Tan, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thanks, Anton. It's a pleasure to be here.
Dr. Tan, to start things off, I want to ask you, what is the state of research in the Philippines and how does the country compare to our ASEAN neighbors?
Well, unfortunately, we have a mix of good news and bad news. The good news is there's a lot more interest in research as an engine for national growth. For as long as I can remember, that's been along the sidelines, but I think over the past few years, there's been significant government interest and industry interest in research. So resources are pouring in. That's the good news. The bad news is it takes time to develop research capacity. And unfortunately, a lot of our Southeast Asian neighbors made that decision ahead of us. So we're actually lagging behind some of the leaders among the 10 countries in ASEAN. Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, and Vietnam are ahead of us in terms of research generation. But that means that there's just work to be done because resources are being put in place to allow more research to be done within this country.
How about De La Salle University, Dr. Tan? How is De La Salle University doing in the field of research?
Well, I'm really happy to note that this decade we've done quite well. In terms of decisions which were made decades ago when we first became a university and back in the early 80s during the time of Brother Andrew, when he decided that we should be a research university and contribute to nation building, not just through education, which we've always done, but through generation of knowledge via research. And I suspect back then, nobody really understood fully what he was saying, or maybe only you could count with your fingers of one hand how many people knew exactly what that meant. But what we did back then was we invested in human resources, we invested in physical resources. People were made to study overseas, faculty members, and when they came back, of course, they came home with more qualifications, higher degrees, but equally important is they understood from immersion in better universities what was needed here in the Philippines. And that took more than one generation, really, for things to start kicking into play properly. And we had some false starts, and in the sense that we were trying to do research, but perhaps being half-hearted about it as an institution. And that started to change towards, I'd say about a decade ago. We put in the right policies, we put in the right institutional framework, resources as well. And I'm happy to say that this decade has been really a period of rapid growth. Mind you, I'm not completely happy with that because what we've seen is a 5-fold increase in research output. For example, by virtue of both internal decisions made by the university and the external environment. For instance, just the provision of more government resources for scholarships, for research projects, which was a decision made by the national government, I would say late last decade, that there should be more resources put into research. And we happened to be in the right spot to be able to absorb some of those resources and turn those resources into research output. So as I said, from 2010 to 2018, we had a 5-fold increase in research output on a year-by-year basis. In addition to this, if you were to average out, you mentioned 4 years earlier, 5 years in a row, We've had the most research output of any institution in the Philippines. And I would actually make a bold claim that it would be 6 years in a row by the time 2019 ends. So whether that continues into the future remains to be seen, depends on how committed we are as an institution and as individuals to this mission.
So it's actually 5 years and not 4 years as the most productive research institution, and you're confident that it's going to be 6 years.
That's right. I think one of the things that we need to aspire for is to have one of the technologies being incubated or developed in our labs become something which goes out into the market and becomes known as a product of LaSallian research. For instance, we have put up research centers dedicated to medical technologies with significant funding from the Philippine government, because health is an issue, health of the typical Filipino is an issue that we need to take care of. So we put up a research unit dedicated to this, and potentially a decade from now, we might actually see a technology and people will say this was invented at De La Salle University.
Well, Dr. Tan, we do hope and pray that that vision of yours comes to fruition in the next 10 years. And we also hope that whether you're retired or not, you will still be around to help De La Salle University. Thank you very much, Dr. Tan, for your time.
Thank you very much.
This is LS Talks, brought to you once again by IALU and DLSU. I'm Anton Roxas. Have a good day, and Animo La Salle.